To win in the Big Ten Conference, you got to run the damn ball. And there's no getting around it. The Big Ten is the conference of running backs. You want running backs? You look at the Big Ten to find the nation's best. And if Michigan has proven anything to us the last few seasons, you don't need just one. You need two great running backs in your backfield to win Big Ten titles. Which Big Ten running back duo stands above the rest as the best tandem in our beloved Big Ten Conference? Before I get to that, a reminder to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Big Ten content all offseason long. Always crush that like button to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses. There's no argument. When it comes to running backs, the Big Ten is king. It's probably been that way for a while, hasn't it? But especially the last few seasons, the best running backs reside in the Big Ten Conference, right? I'm not going to talk about Braylon Allen in this video. I'm not going to talk about Iowa's Caleb Johnson in this video, right? I'm not going to talk about Maryland's Roman Hemby in this video. The depth of the running back position in the Big Ten Conference is just ridiculous at this point. It's been great the last few seasons. It's probably been great the last few decades, right? When you think of Big Ten, you think of bring your lunch pail to work. You think of great running backs throughout the history of the Big Ten. And what we've learned from Michigan the last two seasons, you need a thunder and lightning maybe combination in the backfield. And there's three teams in the Big Ten that have really good tandems, and I'm going to break them down to see which one I think is the best tandem in the Big Ten going into the 2023 season. Like you go back a couple of years to 2021, of course you had the fantastic combination of Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum, right? Hassan Haskins, the physicality up the middle, Blake Corum, the electricity on the outside. This year, I think Donovan Edwards was maybe drifted more towards the middle instead of more of that physical ground and pound. Donovan Edwards, I think, provided a little bit more on the outside than maybe Hassan Haskins did. But you saw once again that great combination when Donovan Edwards was healthy once he got to the middle of the season, and especially once he got to the end of the season when Blake Corum went out with an injury. You just saw how deep that Michigan running back room was, and you saw just how important it is to have a duo in the backfield. Okay, let's get into it. Let's break it down, stats and everything. Here are my three duos within the Big Ten Conference headed into the 2023 season that I believe are the best. Okay, when you look at Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, I mean, maybe you could put a little bit of an asterisk next to that, considering Blake Corum was out with an injury, that Illinois game at the end of the season. He tried to come back for a few games, didn't really work out for them. But, you know, if Blake Corum plays, I should say Edwards kind of stepped up and Corum wasn't playing. If Corum's playing, I think it would have all balanced out in the end, I guess is what I'm trying to get to for that. But those stats right there are utterly insane, right? Almost 2,500 yards from two running backs and 25 touchdowns on the ground. I think a lot of that, I'm going to get to that Ohio State duo here in just a minute, but I think a lot of that is credited to the way Michigan plays football. Back-to-back Joe Moore Award offensive lines. The offensive line is a priority at Michigan. The running game is a priority. Like, we really didn't see J.J. McCarthy really break out and show what he can do throwing the football until late in the season, really, in that Ohio State football game. So I think the style of play really helps Michigan, but these are two uber talented running backs in Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. Now, when I think electricity right now in the Big Ten, like all these guys, there's no question. All these guys can take it to the house. But looking back at 2022, when I think of electricity, I think Nick Singleton. Nick Singleton bursted out as that kind of guy, 50 yards, 60 yards, 70 yards. He can take it to the house. And, like I said, all these guys can do it. I just think Nick Singleton can maybe do it the best. I think when I think of that guy, when I think of Nick Singleton, I think of the big runs, those big touchdown runs that he was able to break through on this season. And the thing about Nick Singleton and Kaytron, these guys are true freshmen. These guys were teenagers last year, 19 years old or whatever they were last season. That's the thing. A lot of these guys, Miyan Williams has been playing a few years. Corum's been playing a few years. I know Edwards is maybe on the younger side, but Allen and Singleton were true freshman last season. Now you put a whole offseason behind him. You put spring ball behind him. You put summer workouts behind him. You put the whole shooting match behind him. They are slated to take another huge step forward in the running game. And you got a guy coming in at quarterback on Drew Allar. Not sure what you're going to get. He looks like he's going to be pretty good. I still think they don't quite have the weapons on the perimeter that Ohio State does. This is going to be a running back tandem that's going to be depended on in this offense in State College, Pennsylvania. It would not surprise me at all to see those Michigan numbers under that Penn State column next season. That would not surprise me in the slightest. Here's kind of an interesting one. I wanted to put them on here because Miyan Williams and TreVeon, maybe when they're fully healthy and on their best day, it could be the most talented group within these three running back tandems. I know I almost should have put an asterisk on Ohio State. Miyan Williams and TreVeon were banged up all season long, and they still found a way to rush for around 1,400 yards and 20 touchdowns on the ground. That being with one of the best quarterbacks in the country in C.J. Stroud. That being with the best wide receiving core in all of college football. And as we kind of transition to 2023, when I look at Miyan Williams and I look at TreVeon, I think they're going to be leaned on a little bit more early in the season, whether it's Kyle McCord or whether it's Devin Brown. I know, and I'm going to mention that a few times now. I know you got the best receiving core in the country out there, especially the best wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. But I think early, before Kyle McCord or whoever's at quarterback really gets in a rhythm throwing the ball, I think this running game is going to be leaned on a little bit more. Look, I'm not saying they're going to turn it to Michigan, because they're not. They're definitely still going to throw the ball around the yard, but I just think the running game early in the season, especially that game early in the year where they got to go to Notre Dame, I think they want to be physical and want to get that side of the ball figured out kind of early in the season. But look back, when we talk about great freshman seasons, right, with Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen, TreVeon was that a year ago, right? He had a fantastic season. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how this battle really plays out with Miyan Williams and TreVeon in camp, and who's it's going to be a 1A and 1B situation. I think TreVeon is going to be the 1A and Miyan Williams is going to be in a 1B situation, but I could also see it flip-flop. Now, I will say this. I don't think Williams and Henderson will be close again to the Penn State duo and the Michigan duo in terms of production. Because once Kyle McCord or Devin Brown get their feet under them at quarterback, they're going to throw it around. Right? You got Marvin Harrison Jr., you got Emeka Buka, you got Julian Fleming out there on the outside. Of course, Ohio State's going to throw the football a lot more. But I do think that this is going to be an electric duo. So I think it's going to come down to the Penn State duo and the Michigan duo. I believe the Michigan duo of Corum and Edwards will be the best duo in the Big Ten Conference. But boy, Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen, I think they're going to take a big jump up from their freshman year to their sophomore year, because you got the whole offseason behind them instead of coming in as true freshmen into a season. Now, these are the guys. You know this is going to be the focal point of the offense, and also you got to take a look on the flip side, and that's maybe why I put Penn State number 2 instead of Michigan 1. Last year, these guys coming in as true freshmen, sometimes defenses you didn't know what you were going to get, especially maybe earlier in the season. Now they know these guys are them boys. Now we know what these guys can do at Penn State. You know defenses are going to step up, and they know that they're going to focus on that running game. So maybe that'll open things up for maybe Drew Allar. Maybe this Penn State team will throw it a little bit more. But we know what Michigan's all about. We know Michigan's going to have a great offensive line. They're bringing in some good Pac-12 transfers. We know what Michigan's all about. That is a tandem that is going to be the best running back tandem in the Big Ten Conference. Man, there is absolutely zero doubt in my mind that the Big Ten Conference has the best running backs in all of college football, and I can't wait to find out who rises above. And maybe there's another tandem that you think should be on this list. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because I think the tandem maybe of Braylon Allen and Chez Mellusi could maybe find their way onto this list as well. So, Antoine Littleton, Roman Hemby from Maryland, maybe. Leave your thoughts in the comments below who you think should maybe be considered in the best running back duos in the Big Ten Conference. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Big Ten Ted. We'll see you in the next one.